Hi, Barb. Hi, Norm.
Hello, everybody.
Unmute. Perfect. Yeah. Hi to both of you.
Hello to
Yeah.
you. Hi, Barb.
Hey, nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
If the two of you can bear with me, I'm going to just dive in, and then I want you both to just dive in and respond. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Why do we have angelic souls on the planet? What's unique about angelic souls? Why does the earth need angelic souls? How do they, how and why do some of them come in at birth and some of them come in as walk-ins? Creating the teamwork between earth-based souls, angelic souls, and interplanetary souls, and focusing on teamwork. So that's one piece. Then the other piece is, I am so aware, maybe the two of you are as well, about these are my words, and as well as our guides are kind of substantiating these words. I'm very aware of the battle on earth and in the spiritual realm of what we might call the dark forces versus the light forces. And, you know, we see it in politics. I mean, it's just rampant right now, trying to help people stay positive and not believe that, you know, we're falling into oblivion with the political junk. And so I feel like, knowing each of you, knowing both of you as well as I do, that your souls are involved in aiding the earth as well as at the higher self level in this battle that probably goes back forever. So anyway, I just thought it would be useful to chat about that. I want to hear how you are and what you're doing and all of that. But I can feel the intensity of, now we've got Joe Biden in the White House, and yet there's this ongoing crazy blah, 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 which is also going on in the higher realm. It's not just going on Earth. So I'll stop. I want to hear from either one of you, both of you. Thoughts, feelings, or take it any other direction you want to take our conversation.
Yeah, you go, Norm.
Okay. We tend in religious science not to talk about negative energy as a thing in itself. So our belief is that there is only one energy, and that how we slide in that energy back and forth is going to create the realities that we do. So my Catholic background, of course, has that old devil thing and the darkness and all those pieces. So I have really been struggling with the whole political thing was just crazy. And I feel heavy, and it's intense. And I feel it in the core of my being. And I don't know what to do with it, with the feelings, you know, so I try to manage those. But here's what I've noticed is I'm really quick to get there in the negative energy. And I know it's because of the intensity in the planet and the energy that we're living in. So one of the pieces that I believe is that we're always a choice of sliding toward the energy or not sliding toward the energy. And when I look at Cruz and I look at I look at Congress in general and just think they have chosen to slid there for some reason. They continue to just vibrate there. That's where they choose to vibrate. And the other part of me knows, my true self really knows, that nothing ever gets turned without the negative energy pushing it. So I'm really clear that something is going on and that the negative energy is a necessary force to get us to the next level. And I'm a huge component of spiral dynamics. I don't know if you know anything about spiral dynamics, but it has the belief that it's the evolution of consciousness and how consciousness gets to its next level. And it really, part of it is a number game. And that is when enough people believe something, it finally moves to the next level. But what they teach in spiral dynamics is that the curve is hell. And I believe we are on the curve. I believe that this new thing wants to emerge, but there's a part of the dark side that doesn't want it to happen. But the cool part about the dark side, whether they're conscious of it or not, is that they are a necessary component to cause enough pain for us to finally do something differently.
Mm.
So I've been grappling with all those issues in my mind, and even January we teach our Back to Basics, which is our first 4 chapters, the Mind textbook, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite time of year. But I went back to those principles and I thought, those of us who have called this in, and I believe that the 3 of us are part of the people who have called this in. And what I mean by call this in is the next level of evolution of where we need to be. And I believe I am a part of that. I just don't know what part I am. But I do believe that we called this in. And so I feel responsible to stay in a place that I have agreed to, which is a higher soul evolution, that I cannot buy into this negative stuff, that if I've called this in along with other souls to evolve the planet, then I need to stay there. So the work has been to try to stay there. And I do fairly well most of the time, but then sometimes I don't. But that's sort of my insight on that stuff. I believe in the next evolution. I believe we're giving birth to it. I just don't like the birth process. I never have. I just, I have never liked it, but I know that every evolution that's happened in my life has had this period before it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crappy, and it's
Well, and Norm, that it's the next step because of that feeling. So
yeah,
what I would say to you is, I can feel that also very strongly. And I've now learned that when that uncomfortableness comes to me, and it's a vibrational thing,
it is.
I'm welcoming it with great open arms and gratitude, because I couldn't even imagine, nor could you or any of us, the awesomeness it'll bring us.
Yeah.
It's never been, for you, for me, probably anybody, it's never been a negative thing. It's our vibrational pattern that I wonder if it wasn't even predetermined. And it's like the fertilizer that, I love to garden. And
Yeah.
you put that, okay, 3-month or 6-month stuff, and you water it, and the first coat comes off and it fertilizes. Then the second coat comes off and it fertilizes next month. What just came to mind is, I'm wondering if that's not us. I mean, I'm wondering if maybe it would make sense that that's true, that we are coded, so to say, like one of those fertilizers. We're fertilizer for this planet.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, everybody is, but everybody has their own part. And maybe as we get washed off a little bit, that's a little bit uncomfortable for us. But then, man, do we fertilize?
I have there's an incident that happened in my life when I was younger, and you just reminded me of it again. And that is, I got gifted this retreat to go to Cumbamere, Canada, which is northeastern Canada in the middle of God knows nowhere. And I was sent there by these parishioners who insisted that I go to Cumbamere House, which was this retreat center. And anyway, they had a clergy section, which I was in, and they had a lay section. And this one day, it was a working retreat, so you had to work the farm, you had to do something. And they had sent me, I was transferring clothes from a semi into another semi to be donated. I was freezing because I wasn't dressed properly and I had no gloves. And so this nun, I remember very clearly, she said to me, go to the farmhouse. So I got on this yellow bus and they took me to the farmhouse, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I arrived and there was smoke coming out of the chimney, and I went into the farmhouse and there were these lay people that were making bread, and I thought, this is it. This is where I belong. And they all said, no. You go out to the barn and you holler for Joe. So I go out to the barn and I'm really walking in the barn, and I yelled Joe's name, but all of a sudden I had this sinking feeling because I was sinking. And so I sank past my ankles in manure. I was just standing there in this manure. And I was so pissed until I looked down at my feet and there was steam coming from the manure. And it was at that point that I realized that when you are ankle deep in crap, that it is warm and that there is something that's going to, and it became the theme for my entire retreat. And so I know that's what you're saying. It's just like there's, and I do believe, I believe parts of this are predestined. You know, I think how we play with it is free will, but I think there are parts of this that are predestined, that we are just meant to do this work.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
wondering that too.
So I want to, just as an earth-based soul with you guys, I have no doubt that both of you are angelic realm souls. And, you know, it's like we need all the ingredients to get the bread to rise, or we need all the ingredients to get the cake to rise. So we need the earth-based souls, the angelic souls, and the interplanetary souls. But just to dive in with just a slight twist on the perspective is, if we say this is predestined, I think it's because the dark forces have always been there and the light forces have always been there, and it's what we do about it that makes the difference. But I think that's the key, at least in my opinion, and what I teach. So, you know, as an example, I had this, she's the funniest, funkiest, wisest. This is a woman who's taken my trainings, and she's just an interesting lady. She's in her 80s and she's doing regression therapy, and she's an interplanetary soul. So she writes to me recently and she says, okay, Linda, I'm rereading all of your training materials for Between Lives Soul Regression. And you say that everything in the spiritual realm and in the earth is happening in real time. But she says, I just don't know how to sync that up with, she's taken all this shamanic training. And she says, you know, all the shamanic training I've taken says that, you know, the spiritual realm, the higher beings, if you will, are happening outside of time. And I just said, I said, I'll just tell you what I believe or know is true, and that is we are evolving in real time, and the higher realm works with us in real time.
Yeah,
So
that's a great way to say that.
you know, my point is that it's just like, you know, how did we get Joe Biden elected? We got him elected because whatever it is, 7 million more people voted for Joe. And so as humans, and you know, some of it's all semantics, and I don't disbelieve or what you're saying, Norm, where you slide back and forth in that energy, that makes sense to me. But I also believe that as humans, when we come into the human body, if we don't make active choices, you might say for the light, then the dark overtakes the light. So it's, who do you vote for? How do you treat your neighbor? Or how do you speak to your spouse? Or so that it isn't just only the light that, I mean, it's like there are times, I mean, we have life partners, and there are times when I just can get really irritated with Earl. But it's like, and it's like, now, wait a minute. And does this always work for me? No. But it's like, now, is this really a big enough deal for me to start speaking to him in a way that maybe later on I'll wish I hadn't? You know, it's all those choices that we make, obviously. But I think we have to be active, and that's what I teach so much with clients and with teachings, is that we have to make active choices to bring the light or live in the light or promulgate the light, or, you know, whatever. And I don't know, I don't want to overly stereotype any of the three of us, but that what I understand about angelic realm souls is the purity of your soul energy, that the purity of where you come from and the divine energy that I'm going to say you serve, or the emissary that you are of that high divine energy. And not that I don't serve a higher cause and a higher calling, but I think making active choices.
My house is full of Buddhists. My house is full of as many things as I have found. Everything has meaning in it, but that represents man's search for his meaning. And I love Buddha because I love how they can find that quiet space, which is very difficult for me because I'm like an atom in the jar with the lid on. So I really love that and aspire to that, but it's such a non-active search for God. It's so internal. It's not doing action on the world, in the world. And that's what I probably never been driven to it. Since I was born, have never understood, and to this day do not understand the light and the dark. When I was 12, and it was probably the holiest period of my time, and I had all the saints over my bed, and I came from such a mess of misery, right? And I was studying in school. I never studied in my life. And then I'm walking down the stairs one day to get a glass of water, and I ran right smack into the devil. I mean, as clear as I saw both of you. My mother ran me. I mean, oh my God, it froze me. It was like hitting 40, 60, 80, 100 below zero. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't move, you couldn't do anything. Ran me to church. She never went, we didn't go to church, but she said, I've done something evil. I was freaking out. So I have been bothered younger years with things that I don't think were positive. And it caused me, I wanted to get rid of all of this that I was, right? When Jean Dixon's daughter told me, do you know what you have? And I said, just get rid of it, right? But, okay, please bear with me. What I want to say, it's hard to say, I'm not sure about light and dark. Because I think, I don't believe that God is dualistic. And so I have a hard time understanding the concept of darkness, or not something that's super positive. I don't understand how that can be, except that I'm wondering if darkness is not simply our choices, our way of looking at what our own, your reality, Norm's reality, mine are all different. We're looking at the same earth. Well, no, we're not even really, because we got a different prescription glasses. Every morning I tell people we have imaginary glasses. We open our eyes, we imaginary put them on, and we all see our different glasses, different prescriptions. So I have a lot of questions about that. One thing I'd say is when I think that if there is that, I mean, I never understood seeing that devil, but what I do know is we're a prize to be had. So Norm, of course, Norm, you're going to feel like you feel, because if that is they or that or whatever, doesn't want us, like you said, Linda, to move forward. You talk about time. Well, in May 24th, 1994, believe it or not, at my health club, this was in the middle of this 9-month period I call my walk between heaven and earth, when I questioned my faith. And I said, for 9 months, I questioned it and finally had the nerve, I told you, to say, all right, I'm vacuuming, Norm. I don't think you've heard this. And I'm vacuuming and I'm saying, I'm home by myself. And I said, okay, God, I'm going to say this out of my mouth. I've been saying this in my head for 9 months. And I said, but coming out of my mouth, I'm human. And so this matters. So I said, Mary and Joseph on a donkey and a baby in a manger. I said, that sounds like the Three Little Bears story. And what's this Holy Spirit thing? Well, then off. I mean, you know, then I got touched and in that period, that was November of 93. And in May, I experienced during all this, my body was falling apart. I mean, I was weightlifting. My club was going to train me for weightlifting Colorado, I was in really good shape. And my body, I was falling apart. So I went to hear a nutritionist talk. And when I'm sitting in this little room, which by the way, they never knew, but they turned this into this meditation part in this thing. And I used to go in and write it on the walls. Nobody knew what that date was. But I had this shift, like a shift of a car. I'm sitting in the back and watching everybody in the whole room, everything lit up. People, like I've seen light since 5 years old, but this was like that on the max, shooting out of some people I didn't even know. And in that time, I experienced no time. I saw the human soul, the absolute, like of this person's body that this guy didn't even know when he I saw he scooted over to whisper to somebody. When his body moved, his spirit, its whole, I saw the energy. I saw us. I know what we are. And I saw it vibrating, and I felt divine love, and you can't describe it. I loved those people I was looking at more than my own children, my husband. I can't describe, but the shift of no time was so profound for me. But I experienced this, and it felt like that. That's why I do that. It felt like a shift of a car and into a different gear. And I felt no time and understood it and was in no time. I could step into home. That there is no time. There is only now time. You hear that? And it's true. That because I experienced it. There wasn't any past, there wasn't any future. There was just, and it's not someplace you got to go. I mean, that let's not high or low or whatever. It's right. I think we're in it. And all we have to do is step in it. And I think there's a lot of ways to step in it. But so this whole thing about time and this whole thing about darkness, and I guess, and then I'll stop, is I think there is no darkness. It's only our perspective that's causing the darkness. Because let's say Norm has this thing. I have the same thing. Well, you do too, Linda. We have this thing. It's like we got a little, rose thorn and we can't get it out. So we know that it's real because all three of us have it. And it bothers us and we think it's dark. But is it dark? And I'm not sure it's dark because look what comes from it. And if it were dark, how could such a great thing come from it? Which is always positive. So I question, and I know I sound nuts, but I question the concept of darkness.
Yeah, I mean, Barb,
No,
I don't think
no.
you sound nuts at all.
Not at all. And I was just biting at the bit to talk. So you were dead on. I believe there's only one energy. There's only one God, one source, one spirit. And in it is contrast. And I always think back to, I love the book of Genesis and the creation story because it's a why story. It's not a how story, but the fundamentals treat it like a how story. The imagery in there has always spoken to me, and it's the piece that we are meant to be in that place you just talked about, Barb. We are meant to be in that eternal now, and that is what the Garden of Eden is. And I have also felt it, and I also have been out of time. I call it time, space, and condition. And like your intuition isn't bound by time, space, or condition. So like when you get the voice that says to you, don't go down North Academy, go this way, I have learned to pay attention to it because it's not bound by time, space, or condition. It just is. And so I believe that that's where heaven resides. And I believe we'll get as much heaven on earth as we're willing to accept and as willing to step into. So there are two things. One is I think rather than dark energy, I call it contrast. And contrast forces me to choose. And what I know is when I'm out of alignment, it feels awful. When I'm in alignment, it feels so. And so, like, there are certain people in my life who, when I am with them, I am in heaven. And so I think the contrast thing is really important. And here's how I get there. I get there fairly quickly now. Where before, when I was younger, I couldn't seem, it's what you were talking about, Barb, about how do you get there? And, you know, there are ways to get there, but now I get there really, really quickly because I did this study called Voice Dialogue, which is all about listening to the voices in your mind and how that committee gets set up, and about, you know, never give up your conductor. They describe it as an orchestra. And what happens is we develop these voices when we're growing up. And so when we have a feeling that is similar to that voice, our brain gives us that experience because it thinks that's where we want to go. Well, what happens is it takes over your conductor seat and it begins to just cause chaos in your life. And so one of the pieces that I've learned to do is get back into my conductor seat when I'm feeling this way. And I drive all of my energy down to my feet. And I close my eyes, drive all my energy down to my feet, because if I'm listening to those voices, I make people do this. If you were in the room, I'd make the two of you do it. If you tap your forehead like this and you stay in your brain, I can do anything I want to you. I can move you, shove you. But when you drive all of your energy down to your feet and you remember who you are and you take over your conductor seat, you physically cannot move me. I am like a solid rock. And so the spiritual practice that I have been doing these days has been stay in my conductor chair, because the contrast of not staying in love is like eating the bad apple in the garden. There's all these consequences that happen because our natural state of being is to be in this love and to stay there. And so when I see contrast on the outside of me, I see it. I know it's there. But whether I choose to dance with it is the question. You know, am I going to dance with this? And what I feel is our work in the angelic realm is to stay there, like to not engage it, because we don't do any good when we're bitching and complaining about the political scene. It doesn't really do any good. You then are involved in the energy which has produced that, versus how do I stay? I believe that I'm a holder of energy, and that I have been sent here to hold this energy. And so staying in that energy is really important to me. The third thing I think is really important about all of this is that I think you are absolutely right, Linda. The contrast has always been there. And it has to be there because of free will. It just has to be there. You can't say you have free will and then not be able to choose something that's outside of your realm of where you should be. So I believe.
Oh, wait a minute, Norm, that's so important. So wait a minute. That's a huge hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so free will, you're saying, can't exist without contrast.
That's correct.
Right, because that is what free will is.
That's
It's
right.
it's
choice.
choosing.
It's the two things. And you're right, Linda, about it has always been there. It shows up in different forms, but collectively where you choose to stand will give you an experience. And so if I have been playing with this over and over again, and I'm telling you, I feel so much better. I feel in alignment and I feel in heaven when I am not involved in this negative energy. And so I think that there are some of us on the planet, and I don't believe it's just angelic realm souls. I think, Linda, you're here to do it as well. And that's what I meant about we called this in. Because when you stand at a certain energy frequency, like matches like. Just like Barb, I got off the phone our last conference and I talked about you and Dr. Linda for 3 days incessantly. Scott, so if our job is to stand there, like meets like, and that's what happened in the election, is people stood up and said, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
because
yeah.
the pain got great
Yeah.
enough for actually to do something about it.
So I
Well-
want to say a quick thing about free will,
Yeah.
just to jump in and just
Yeah,
say
I
this,
had
and then
something too,
Barb.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just quick comment, and I'll save my second comment until after you talk, Barb. But it almost felt like God, the divine, just stepped in and explained something to me that I was struggling with how to word it back to you guys. God, and I always love that there are other words. Okay,
Right.
so Elohai, I'll use that word. Elohai gave us free will. Elohai gave us free will in body, but I am, just me personally, I am convinced that Elohai gave our higher selves free will.
Well, of course.
Of course.
Yeah,
Because
so it
of
happens at the
course.
soul level as well. It
Yeah,
doesn't just
totally.
happen.
Totally.
human level.
Or why would we be doing this?
Well, it would make no sense for
Yeah.
him to make puppets.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
He doesn't
that-
want puppets. He doesn't
No,
want
he-
puppets.
no.
And if we're the
that is
micro-
the purest act of, that's how you know you are loved.
But our soul makes choices, not just our human self makes choices.
So,
Oh, yes.
Linda, so because I don't believe those two are always in sync, would I be correct about that?
Oh, yeah.
So soul level stuff and my levels, my craft,
Oh, yeah.
they're not in,
Yeah.
they're not in sync.
Yeah. Sometimes they are and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, they're not. I really can feel it when I'm not. I
Oh, God, all the
I
time.
totally can feel it. It's the same thing I was talking about. Like if I'm not grounded and I'm not centered, I can't talk to my soul. It's that simple.
Right.
And I also realize when I'm out of sync with, like, some people's energy comes into the room and I think, oh, for God's sakes, really?
Yeah.
Like the low
Yeah.
frequency and the low frequencies,
For sure.
these just undeveloped, and
Yes.
in the room, and it's like this suck that just, there's something about that contrast that just wants to pull.
And you know what? When you said, Norma, talking, and Linda too, this contrast, as you call it, Norm, I like that word. I think I'm going to think about that, but I think it's a really correct, good word for what goes on. And think of the gift that contrast, the contrast and the free will are equal gifts, because
They are.
one cannot exist without the other. So
Yeah.
when we're faced with that contrast, that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that it is part of the gift. And as you both, I don't know if Norm knows, in July, 3 years this July, I got taken just walking out of my den, talking to God about all the bad things that happened. I've been doing that since a kid. I just don't understand how we can be so bad and have this loving father and da-da-da. And all I know, I'm walking down the hall, next thing I'm standing in front of the Creator. And I mean, like, that's all I could see right in front of me. It seems like I was maybe 10 feet away. I don't know. And it looked like it looked like the sun, you know how it shoots off its energy. That's exactly what I saw. I saw the pulsing. I saw the energy. I saw the white light. It wasn't pure white. It was, I don't know. It was like the sun. And I saw in front of my face, over to I saw all around, but right, I was focusing onto the right, and I saw pieces of this come off. And I was given the understanding in little circles, like little pearls almost. And they came, and it was the birth of souls. And I saw what I saw, and I know, and I saw that, and I was given the understanding that they were taken to be cared for, and that they were probably made from that area together. They were taken, so probably going to be a soul group or something.
Or going
then-
to the soul nursery.
Yes.
There is a soul
developed.
nursery.
I'm telling you, I believe,
Yeah.
I was on my way up to talk to Linda about this when I first heard, I was listening to Michael Newton,
Michael.
and I just plugged it in, just turned it on on my way up to you, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this. I hadn't heard that before. And there's somebody describing in one of those books exactly what I saw. And I stood before that. And then I saw this, oh my God, it was so awesome. I saw this continual birth, never, ever, ever, ever ending. This aspect of everything. And everything I was told, and I didn't see it this time, but I saw it one time I was with you, Linda, when I met All. And all, behind all is what I think we would call probably God. And behind that was just, I was allowed just to see a glimmer of everything. And told, because I remember I came to you because I didn't understand, how could this creator, how could that be God? I thought I stood before God. I felt like Moses in the burning bush. And I know that Moses had the same, that he saw something very similar and got translated down. And I couldn't understand, because what I stood before and remember, I was not given this understanding over, it took weeks and weeks and weeks. They only divulged a little, because I'm going to tell you right now, I know I, as a human, would have imploded had I had total understanding. All I know is I was walking down the hall again, and not even that moment was I given any understanding. It came little by little, very gently to me what had happened. I just know that I went there, and then I'm walking down the hall again, and then over time, a couple weeks, whatever, it was gently told to me. And then I was told about that, the true Trinity, because my whole house, everything's built for that, about how there is everything and there is all, and that the creator that I saw, I always thought it wasn't God. It's an aspect of himself that he made to create. And talk about the vastness of the universe. That creator, that aspect of that loving, you could tell he almost had a humor to him. The light had like a loving, sweet, almost humor to him. And you think that has been creating for all time and will create for all time, as long as everything wants it to. Think of the billions and trillions and gazillions of souls in this universe, because it never stops. And it wasn't the loving God that, we've all, divine love. And that's what bothered me. But then I was given the understanding that this was the aspect of everything that didn't have feeling. Its purpose is to create.
Yes, we call it the law. So we believe there are three aspects of God. There is that divine energy, the unlimited possibility of everything that there is.
Yeah.
We believe that there is this neutral stuff. I call it Play-Doh in my class, so people can understand. I make them play with Play-Doh. And that there's a three-step process to God. One is there is this unlimited energy that can create anything. Secondly is this law. And third is manifestation. And so the same way that the creation story in the book of Genesis, God has a thought, God speaks the thought, it gets manifested. But there is this part in the middle, the neutral, which we call the law, which is not biased to anybody. And what I mean by that is it just takes the thought and it manifests it. And that's where free will fits in. So your thought and so since we are the micro of the macro, we have that same pattern built within us.
Yeah.
We take a thought.
Yeah.
And our feelings, I want to talk about feelings too, because feelings are the indicator for me. I believe feelings plus thought equal outcome. It's not just thought. So there is a feeling first that then your brain takes and puts into a thought, and then it manifests. So on the spiritual level, we're doing this all day long. We're having these beliefs, and the universe hears the belief and says, because there's this part of God that is absolutely neutral, that is not,
Yeah.
as
Yes.
it just takes
Yes.
say and it manifests it. And
Yep.
it's called the
Me-
neutral part of God. And we call it the law because it just works automatically. And it's not biased to anybody. It just works. That's it.
Mhm.
So there are three aspects to God in my spiritual world. There is that immense, beautiful, incredible thing that I have felt so many times in my life that backs everything in the universe. There is no place where God is not. That's what I always say. But then there is this part where I play in it. And that the free will that I have been given is to play in it and to use it and to manifest that which I am supposed to manifest and do those. And when I am in alignment, man, it feels like I cannot be stopped. I feel powerful. I feel unconditional love. I feel all those things. But when I get out of alignment and I choose a contrast that is different to my alignment, I suffer all kinds of things.
Oh man, that's so true.
So I'm always being driven, and meditation for me is timeless too. Because when I meditate and when I call in my guides, I never used to call in my guides till, thank you, Linda Backman. So I call in my guides and I instantly feel like I'm in this pliable, non-conformed piece of time. And boy, I can rest there. I can just remember who I am and I can rest there. And so I just think feelings are playing an important role in all this. That I used to think, as I grew up as a little gay boy, I was always ashamed of my feelings because I would always feel first and I would always cry first and I've always been that way.
Mm.
Now I realize, holy God, I didn't realize the gift, because the feeling is the indicator of where I'm going to go if I don't think this thing through. And if I'm not deeply rooted, I'm going to go. So I have now learned how lucky I am that I have, as a male on this planet, with all the other crap that goes on with men, that I don't have it. I have feeling. I feel first. And I've noticed now the consistency of the people that I'm attracting all have it as well. All my close friends, they all feel it first. They feel it.
I have a zillion things, which there's not time for me to share a zillion things, but let me see if I can share a couple that just kind of fit in here. One that popped up as you were speaking, Norm, and well, maybe both of you know this, but I always say I'm that little Jewish girl from Colorado Springs, because I am the little Jewish girl from Colorado Springs. And it's like, one, I love that I was raised as a Jew for all kinds of reasons, but mostly it relates to you having feelings first, Norm. It's because I always knew I was different. I always knew I was a minority. I always knew I wasn't like everybody else. And while at times that was hard, like Christmas would roll around and it was Christmas morning and my friends were getting all these gifts or they were spending time with their family and I felt left out. But on the other hand, the gift for me is to have grown up as a minority, because I believe I understand minorities, whether it's sexual orientation minority or skin color minority or monetary situation in your life minority. I so love that I grew up knowing that I wasn't like everybody else. And I've always been very intuitive, but it took me years to understand that and accept it. Basically, God, to some extent, the highest level of divinity, is above my pay grade. That while I can feel that, it has to be stepped down, and that is a group soul. But that, so that God is multifaceted. God, there are not all aspects of God that are above, I'll just say, my pay grade, but many things they've said, like recently when I felt this stepping up of whatever commitments my soul has, I could feel it. And then I can at times ask, did the Manu ask for me to increase my responsibility, or was that my higher self's decision? But the bottom line is I feel so blessed to be able to ask questions. Now, sometimes they give me answers and they want me to figure out that's not the full answer, or they want me to figure out that isn't even the correct answer. And I have to figure that out. But I guess what I'm saying is the bottom line is I feel this guidance that I know, Barb, you're describing and you feel, and Norm, you're describing and you feel. And I'm convinced that God, the Manu, the divine, wanted the three of us to be having these conversations.
Oh yeah, when you said that, Linda, right before you said that's something that's been happening to me a lot lately. I'm reading what people are saying. I'm hearing it before they say it a lot.
Mhm.
But yes, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe I was feeling I just feel their joy about it. I mean, I can just feel that they're, like, yeah, they're getting it, yeah.
I've noticed a whole slew of evolved people coming in. I don't know how to say it, except that I'm seeing them in my classes. Like, my classes 7 years ago were like trying to teach some basic things, that your thoughts matter and what you say matters. Now they come in and they already have it. They're far more superior than I remember myself even being when I started this whole process. It feels that way anyway. But the soul levels are definitely much higher.
Well, remember, it's the same soul, Norm, but what's happened is like that fertilizer, right? They were put here and life has washed over them and their decisions and whatever this is. They were put here, we, you, me, every one of them, every single billions of us, for this time, for this reason.
Yeah.
And so now that's washed off and now they're beginning to fertilize more.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah.
I think it's a combination. I think some of what you're saying, Barb, is true. And I see this in my own work. And some of it is some of these people / more evolved souls are being guided under my nose or your nose, Norm, or your nose, Barb, for a reason.
Oh,
Just
yes.
like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think
Totally.
there is totally.
I get I'm in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
I get that I'm there for them. I get that I'm a guide. I get, even in my friendship relationships, I totally get it. And it's just so funny to watch it. But the more I see that, the more I realize my responsibility to be deeply rooted. Because if I'm guiding some of these souls, which I believe I guide a congregation full of them, and I believe I'm put here to do that, I have to stay grounded because I can't take on their energy. I just cannot. I've been there, done that, can't do it. Physically, I can't do it. And emotionally, I cannot do it. So there are very few people in my life that I actually allow their energy to blend with mine.
Yeah, I agree.
Or to do that other piece, nor is it my responsibility to do it. If my responsibility is to stay grounded and be the guide that I'm supposed to be, to stay there. So I really have come to appreciate, I hope you're freaking amazing, both of you. I just, I got off the last call and I couldn't even begin to describe what I felt just welling up about it. I just know that I'm free to open my energetic soul here because I'm I know I've attracted you into my life, and I know you've attracted me into yours.
Mhm.
And, but just the rest of the time, I just feel like I have to stay in this grounded place. And I
Yeah.
believe that's my responsibility to do so. But boy, the temptation of being swerved or moved and age is really a gift to me. I'm now able to stand in this place and just say, and I'm not taking that on. I'll hold it for you. I'll hold the space for you to walk around and to discover truth for yourself. That's what I'm going to do.
I was told this about you, that you are a vessel that holds, but you're holding light. And I want you to envision this slender kind of bigger here and then comes up to a neck. And you're this vessel. And your light is right there near the top. That's what you are here to hold. So their stuff, their whatever, their energy, you are not made to do that. That's not, your vessel is not made for that. That's not how, that's not what your purpose is, or it's not even possible, because your vessel is filled with your light. And your light and your energy is what you are to use for your purpose. You are not to use their stuff. That's not serving your purpose, because your vessel is full with light. So just give up that's that devil ego part that says, oh, no, carry that. Good people carry that. But no, that's not your purpose.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I can see your vessel, I can see the light, and it's filled with that. And so when you come across them, that they have, you just know that can't get in there because yours is already full.
Yeah, and Barb, I think that what you just said pertains to you.
Yeah.
And pertains to me.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just exclusively just
Yeah.
to the three of us, but what you just said, I think, is you as well. And I feel it is me as well, because my story is the same as yours, Norm. Because it just doesn't work.
I never wanted to, never going to want to, don't want to, not going to do it, don't want to do it.
But when you find, I use the image either step up or step away. That's really what I think in my mind. That's what I sent to them in my brain. Step up or step away, because I'm not meeting you where you are. But when you do meet those folks, like we've, I love to cook, and we have these amazing dinners where the discussion is just so mind-blowing, and that you've met another vessel at that level. Just amazing when you do it. When you have that frequency and that dynamic, and you are really talking about what's really important, and you're doing this, and you could tell there's a soul level stuff going on.
What you are is this full vessel with the light.
Yeah.
All you have to, they are coming, your light, which is your vibrational, your soul as it was made, they want us to, and see us to be. And I fully get that now. So that's okay, because I just hold myself as, here I am, and may my existence be enough.
Yeah.
You are enough.
Yeah, you are.
We all are.
Enough.
We all
You
are.
are enough.
And so
Okay.
that takes all that pressure off about, does this person understand that, or want this, or doesn't want to talk to me about it? It's like, may my existence
Be enough.
be enough.
Yep.
Cool.
Great.
That's what we need to pray for, because it is enough. If we're looking for anything, that's what we got to tell ourselves, because it is enough. It is of everything. We were made from an aspect of him. It is enough. And may we exist in our speech, may we think, speak, and do what we are. That's all we can do. That helps
That's it.
everything.
That's it.
Okay. We obviously could go on for hours. This has been awesome.
It has.
Thank you, thank you, thank you to both of you. As I listen to us, there's so many rich nuggets as we talk. And I love the time with both of you. And I wanted to help other people as well. Thank you
All
to
right.
both of you. Yeah,
Thank you, Linda. We
Thank
owe
you.
you. We owe you great gratitude.
We do.
I'm led to do this. It feels totally right. Yeah.
It
All right.
does.
Take
I
good
love you
care, both
both.
of you.
I
Love you
love you
too.
both.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Norm.
Bye-bye.